Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Perth South Model Railway. It has turned out to be quite a nice summer here, even here in Scotland. In fact, far too warm to do work in a loft room. However, the weather is due to break today, so let's have a look up in the loft and see what's been happening with the layout after we've finished the magazines. I guess what most of you will notice first is the back scenes. Now this has taken a long time to do. In fact, it's taken up a lot of the time since the last video to get this done. And it is actually bespoke. It is Perth and the surrounding countryside. Now the scenic break here is going to be a scenic break, so it was never my intention to have a scenic backboard across the door. And it doesn't fit perfectly. It doesn't represent exactly what's behind the railway if you go and look at it. And of course, things have changed since the 1960s. But it does give a good impression of Perth, the surrounding hills. And yeah, I'm quite kind of happy with it. I've actually had to repeat the back scene as it goes round. I've used curved corner sections, but it does kind of give the right idea. And for instance, when we come to the MPD area, we've got the hills, the Craigie Hills, and the Craigie area, Friarton, behind the MPD. The area at the end here is largely going to be covered by hillside as the railway goes into Friarton Tunnel. So a lot of the townscape that you see there is hidden. Now, because of the work that went into this, I've got quite a lot more to say about it, and I'm going to do a separate video on that, which hopefully will come out in the next week or so. The baseboard for the MPD was always going to be slightly problematical, mainly because of all the tracks underneath and the shape of the baseboard. So there's obviously a need to make sure that point motors wiring doesn't interfere with the tracks underneath. I've also, in common with a lot of the other parts of the layout where there are tracks below, I've made this baseboard surface removable using the screw-in inserts into the baseboard, so that the baseboard surface can be removed to both to work on it and to get to the track underneath. I followed my usual practice of having the centre lines marked out on the baseboard for each track, and then as I've used 3mm cork for the track bed in this area, and I've sliced the cork down the middle to allow me to follow the centre line. The pits have been cut in, and again the cork's been laid either side of each pit to make up the level difference. I've then laid strips of plasticard followed by the PCB strips to bring the PCB strips up to the correct level to match the track either side. Again, as the way I usually do it, I try and make sure that every section of rail is wired. There is a common bus for the MPD area which has its separate breaker, so anything happening in the MPD area doesn't affect movements in the rest of the layout. Again, I've usually glue and pin down the track and remove the pins afterwards. I find that way I can make sure that I get the track exactly where I want it before while it glues in place, and then I can remove the track pins afterwards once I'm doing the scenic treatment. For the pit areas, I remove sections of sleeper and just allow the rails to sit in the PCBs initially and then go back afterwards, and spot solder the rails to the PCB. Again, when I do the scenic treatment in this area, I'll probably put some kind of representation of chairs onto the PCB strips onto the pit area. Once again, I've used tortoise point motors, and you can see here that the areas of the pits, the inspection pits, I've sealed off with 10th thou plasticard, and again the top surface of that will be given a scenic treatment in due course. Have to be very careful with the layout of the wiring to make sure it doesn't conflict with any of the baseboard framing, and also to make sure that it doesn't hang down and foul the path of any trains that are passing. Even with careful planning, you sometimes find there's a conflict between a point motor and the track below. So I have had to use a tortoise remote mount, and you can see the small remote black activator at the bottom of the photograph, and the tortoise on its side, and the special holder that holds the remote choke wire that goes to the activator. Now, my growing collection of locos pushed me into getting on with the track laying in the MPD area. It's not, of course, exactly as Perth South Motive Power Depot was. That's far too big to get on my baseboard. But it does kind of follow the logic of Perth, in that we have an ingoing track coming off the down loop. This leads into what's going to be the coaling area with sidings here for coal wagons. Once through the coal area, the trains went into an ash disposal area with 2 pits, and this siding here was for the where the ash disposal plant sat over, with empty wagons here to receive the ash from the locos. The locos then went into a head shunt, which used to be around the back of the depot. In my model, it's just going to be another depot road. But then they come down from this head shunt into the turntable. Now, in real life, the turntable sits between the coaling plant and the tracks coming out from the running shed. My turntable, I've had to push much further to the north, and it's over here. Now, this is a Helgen turntable. I got it for 2 reasons. They seem to be quite reliable, looking into people's reports of them. And also, it's quite a low profile. This baseboard sits above the tracks and the hidden sidings, and therefore it had to be low profile enough not to interfere with the trains passing underneath. Even so, I've had to raise it up slightly. All the tracks in the layout are at slightly different levels, and in fact these tracks rise up towards the MPD area. This is actually the highest point in the main line here to get over the tracks coming in from the Dundee platforms at the station. So the turntable had to be lifted even slightly higher, and that'll all be hidden in due course with scenic treatment walls or whatever. The running shed at Perth consisted of 8 roads, and I do actually have 8 roads in my MPD, but I don't have room for either the offices, which are actually still in existence to this day, and the big repair shed which sat beyond the offices. So I'll be doing some kind of low relief treatment along here at the back to indicate the look of the offices and the large repair shed. But I'm hoping to be able to scratch build the main running sheds and give a good idea of what they looked like with their corrugated metal appearance. The actual sheds will start in a line about here, so there was a number of inspection pits outside the shed as the locos were got ready for their next duty, and also inside the shed. But rather than make them the full length of the shed, I've just given a kind of indication of them. I didn't want to weaken the baseboard too much by cutting lots and lots of inspection pits into the baseboard. Now, most modern coaches come with NEM coupling pockets, but the Thompson coaches, the Bachmann Thompson coaches that I have a fixed tension lock which is screwed into the body of the bogie. So I was keen to convert these to NEM. Most of the the rest of my coaches now are fitted with Kadees, and I wanted to be able to mix and match them. So the first thing was to unscrew the entire coupling and then cut off the tension lock part off the end of the bracket and file it clean. Next, I had managed to purchase on eBay some NEM pockets which were really designed to screw in, but I decided to glue them onto the remains of the tension lock bracket. It worked fine with using super glue, and it resulted in the NEM pocket being at exactly the right height. And then you just have to make sure that the pocket is positioned correctly in the bracket to make sure that the coupling will work properly. Then it's just a case of screwing the bracket back onto the coach, and you've got a Kadee NEM converted coach. There are a number of new locomotives in the layout. Starting at the back, there's a Bachmann Standard 5. There were a number of Standard 5s seen in Perth in the 1960s. Most were fitted with caprotti valve gear, which this one isn't. So I'm hoping to be able to find a prototype of a Standard 5 in Perth with standard valve gear, Wilshire's valve gear. The DMU is a Class 101, again regularly seen in Perth in the 1960s. And closest to us, the new Hornby Thompson A23 class, which I will get round to changing its name and number to a more appropriate Scottish version. We've also got Hornby versions of the rebuilt Royal Scot and the rebuilt Patriot, both of which were seen in previous videos. All these vehicles are fitted with Zemo chips. I think they're all fitted with Digitrain sound files, and again all have Rails exclusive speakers of one kind or another. Well, thanks for watching this video update. I'll finish with a short running session, and I hope to see you next time when I'll do a video on the building of my back scenes. Thanks, and bye for now.